Good morning, ladies. I hope you can all hear me. And thank you so much to Jessica for inviting me to speak. And thank you to Celine for my introduction. And also a big thank you to Sister Husin. That was so lovely to hear. Women don't often get the opportunity to listen to a talk like that, and breast health is very, very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be sharing my screen with you guys. I've prepared a little presentation. It's very pink to make it all pretty for the ladies. I'm going to be covering topics that you guys sent questions through about, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so the topic of today's talk is healthy eating, making it a way of life. These are the topics we will be covering. I'll do a brief introduction, then we'll briefly look at food groups and variety. We'll discuss physical activity. We'll look a little bit deeper into hunger and cravings, and then end off with emotional eating. I just also want to say these are all very broad topics, so I'm just touching on the basics in each section, and you guys are more than welcome to email me questions afterwards. Okay, so what is a healthy lifestyle organization? It's a way of living that lowers your risk of being seriously ill or dying early. But it's not only about that. We need to know that a healthy lifestyle also includes physical, mental health, and social well-being. So physical, what we're putting into our bodies, how we're using our bodies, things like exercise, mental health, we know what that is, and social well-being is your relationships with other people, being part of a community and feeling like you belong in your community. Okay, and very important for ladies to hear this, health does not necessarily equal size. Okay, your relationship with food, your health, the way you feel, and the way you nourish your body are more important than size, numbers on scales, and that type of thing. Okay, so we're looking at the bigger picture, your health, your relationship with food, the way you feel, the way you nourish your body. So then moving into a healthy diet, what makes this up? A healthy diet includes a variety of foods. It should be balanced, which means that it contains all food groups: carbs, fats, dairy, protein, fruit, vegetables, and fluids, because all food groups play a role. Okay, so we don't need to be cutting any food groups out. We just need to make healthier choices in each group. And we need to think about how each food is nourishing and benefiting our body. Just a quick disclaimer, the information I'm sharing today doesn't replace a consultation or medical advice. It's very general information. If you have any individual concerns, it's best to consult with a healthcare professional individually, because each individual is very different. Okay, so our first section will be food groups and variety. This, if you forget everything that I speak about today, but you just remember this, that's good. So I want this picture to be in your mind when you are dishing up your plate of food. And this just shows general portion sizes. So what we are wanting is half of our plate vegetables. We want a quarter of our plate starch and a quarter of our plate protein. In South Africa, most people tend to dish up half of the plate starch, but you can see that you need to be filling up on your veggies. And that little yellow circle in the right-hand picture is fat. So fat is generally about a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on what type of fat. On the left-hand picture, the fat in that picture would be those 3 little slices of avo. Okay. And what is very, very important here is that your starchy vegetables, your potato, your sweet potato, your butternut, your pumpkin, your corn, your peas, those are starch. Okay, so even though we classify them as vegetables, because they are high in carbs, when you dish them up on your plate, they actually need to be dished up in that starch section. So in that quarter of your plate, you'll have your starchy veg. Then you still need half a plate of other non-starchy vegetables. Okay, so remember these pictures in your head when you're dishing up your next plate of food. So our first food group is carbs. These are our body's main energy source, especially when we are exercising. They're also the main food group that affect our blood sugar. A lot of people cut carbs out of their diet because they say carbs make me fat, but important to know that carbs on their own do not cause weight gain. If you're having a diet that's too high in protein and or fat and very low in carbs, this generally leads to cravings, especially sweet cravings. So we can include carbs in our diet, and we should. It's just all about eating the right amount and type. Okay, and even if you are diabetic, carbs do not need to be completely excluded from your diet. So we're going to speak about two groups. I've put it in inverted commas, good and bad carbs. Your good carbs are things like fruits, vegetables, your brown fibrous cereals, things like Weet-Bix, oats, all bran, your brown bread, your brown rice, your brown pasta. These foods are more suitable because they make your blood sugar increase slowly and steadily. Okay, they don't cause a big spike and drop in your blood sugar. And also you can see a lot of these foods are, as you would take them out of the earth, they're in their more natural state, and because of that, they're higher in fiber and nutrients. Okay, fiber, very important for gut health, to help keep your stools regular. It also helps keep you full. So if you're struggling with like eating and getting very quickly, getting hungry very quickly after, it could be that you don't have enough fiber in your meal. Then the other carbs, in inverted commas, bad carbs, things like sweets, chips, chocolates, fried foods, biscuits, energy drinks, fruit juice, sugary drinks, sugary cereals, and your white refined starches. And these are the ones that would make your blood sugar increase and drop very quickly. And you can see these carbs have been through processing to make them into these types of foods. And in that processing, they lose their fiber and their nutrients. Okay, protein, our next big food group. Protein is also an energy source for our body. It's the main part of our muscles. It has a lot of other functions in our bodies too. Good to know that it's found in both animal and plant sources. And too much protein can be a bad thing. Okay, so people that are on very high protein diets, the excess protein can be stored as fat. Too much protein also places strain or can place strain on your bones, your kidneys, and or your liver. Okay. With protein, we want to focus on how we are cooking and preparing our protein, choosing leaner options, and trying to include more plant proteins in our diet. So a lot of pictures and writing here, but I just want to show you some examples of plant versus animal protein. Let's look at the animal protein first. Those are things like eggs, turkey, chicken, seafood, pork, red meat, steak, and cow's milk, and also dairy. On the left, plant proteins, a lot of different sources of plant protein: chickpeas, beans, lentils, some of your grains like your brown rice, your quinoa, your oats, tofu is also there, your nuts, your nut butter, and some of your veggies as well. Okay, so one of the things with plant proteins is that it's not necessarily complete. That means it doesn't have all the amino acids, and it's not as available to your body. But very big pro of plant proteins, they're much lower in fat, lower in cholesterol, and they're high in fiber. So we want to include more of these in our diets. Animal proteins, they are complete. The protein's more available to your body, but they are higher in fat, higher in cholesterol, and lower in fiber. So when you are choosing your animal proteins, you want lean options, low fat options where possible. So a lot of people don't actually know how can they include plant protein in their diet. So this is a little diagram I made. You can take things like red kidney beans, you can substitute them for mince, you can go half-half, like half mince, half kidney beans. Chickpeas, you can substitute for chicken, maybe in a salad. You could substitute it for cheese. If you want to put it as a spread, you can make hummus out of chickpeas. Okay, butter beans and lentils are really nice to use in things like soups and stews. The other nice thing about plant proteins is that they are a lot more affordable and they've got a long shelf life. So whether they come in a dry form in a packet or if they're tinned, they last a lot longer than animal protein. So let's get into the next major food group, which is fats. Also an energy source for our body, and you can see some other functions in our body there too. The thing with fats is that they are very high in calories per gram, as opposed to protein and carbs. So that's why the portion size is a lot smaller for fats. Okay. Just like protein, you get plant and you get animal fats. So we want to focus on the types of fats that we are eating. So this just shows 3 different fat groups. The 2 with the crosses, it doesn't mean you have to completely exclude them from your diet, just choose them less often. And the one with the green tick, we want to choose those more often. So those are our unsaturated fats. You can see mostly plant sources, things like your olive oil, canola oil, peanut oil, sesame oil, avo, nuts. Then you have some other plant sources there like seeds, and also your cold water fish. That's where your omega-3 comes from. So things like your tuna, your salmon, mackerel, herring, and also sardines and pilchards. So those are good types of fats. Those are protective for our heart. They help with inflammation. So unsaturated fats are good choices. Saturated fats mostly come from animal products, but also coconut oil. So a lot of people think coconut oil is very healthy because it's a plant source, but coconut oil is very high in saturated fat. And saturated fat is actually what contributes most to high cholesterol. Okay, and then on the left, you've got your trans fats, which are mostly your fried foods, baked foods, those type of things. Okay, fluid is also a food group. Water makes up 45 to 70% of our bodies, depending on how much fat and muscle we have. It's an essential part of all of our body tissues and our cells. It's important that you drink enough water, but remember that too much water can also be a bad thing. If you're drinking like 4 liters a day, you can actually overhydrate your body and you dilute the nutrients in your body, and it can be severe. A good way to check your hydration is to check your urine color. So we're wanting anything from clear to pale yellow. But just be mindful that if you are taking certain vitamins, this can affect the color of your urine as well. And then we want to be aware of the sugar content of drinks. So I'm going to show you something that I made when I worked in the military in my community service year. This shows the exact amount of teaspoons of sugar in each of these drinks, okay, in that specific size. Just before I get into it, the water and the Drinko Pop, that little white section at the bottom is not sugar, those are just shadows, okay. So water and Drinko Pop have 0 teaspoons of sugar in. Drinko Pop is made from sweetener. That Twizzler has 3 teaspoons, the Oros 4 teaspoons, flavored water 5 teaspoons, iced tea 5 teaspoons, Super M chocolate milk 6 teaspoons, Stony 6 teaspoons, Coke 8 teaspoons, and that Crush orange juice 11.5 teaspoons. Okay, so a lot of people think because fruit juice comes from fruit, it's very healthy for us and we can drink a lot of it, but it is very high in sugar. And this is why, because if you had to make 500 ml of orange juice, it would take about 8 medium oranges. So you're getting the sugar of 8 oranges in that bottle when you drink it. It's therefore high in calories. And also when they're busy making the fruit juice, you're losing the fiber and the nutrients. As opposed to eating an orange where it's only the sugar in that one orange, it's lower in calories. And because it's in its natural state, you're still getting the benefits of the fiber and more nutrients. So you can drink fruit juice. Fruit juice portion is very small though, it's half a cup, 125 ml. If you want to make it up to more, good idea to dilute it with water. Okay, so I'm not a biokineticist or a physiotherapist. or personal trainer, but I just want to touch on some of the benefits of physical activity because it is part of a healthy lifestyle. So exercise can reduce your risk of heart disease, also other conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and there are many other conditions that it helps with. It's very good for mental health, can help reduce anxiety and depression. It also helps with sleep and increased energy levels. And if you're wanting to, change your body composition, so lose fat, gain muscle, that can be done through exercise. So how much should we be doing? These are the World Health Organization recommendations for our age group, 18 to 64. Just to explain the pictures quickly, if you're doing moderate intensity physical activity, so maybe a brisk walk or a very slow jog or dancing, you should be doing at least 150 to 300 minutes a week. If you're doing vigorous intensity exercise, so cycling, fast running, boxing, you should be doing at least 75 to 150 minutes a week. And if you still want additional health benefits on top of that, 2 sessions of muscle strengthening, so resistance exercise per week. It may seem like a lot for some people, especially if you don't currently exercise, but remember that something is better than nothing. Even if you just start with 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes is better than 0 minutes, and it'll still have the health benefits. Okay, so this came up in the questions that were sent through to me, hunger and cravings, how to deal with that. So I just wanted to give some tips for people that find that their meals aren't filling them up, they're needing to eat soon after their previous meal. If you eat smaller portions more frequently during the day, it'll help with appetite. So instead of just having breakfast, lunch, supper, you might want to have breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, supper, and some people, depending on what time they eat supper, even have an evening snack afterwards. Okay. Skipping meals doesn't help with appetite. You find that you get over hungry for your next meal and you might overindulge. Like I mentioned earlier, eating fiber. Fiber helps keep you full. So that's found in your whole grain starches, beans, nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables. Those type of foods can help with fullness. Protein also helps keep you full. So try and include some type of protein in your meals and your snacks. Remember to keep hydrated, especially if you are eating a lot of fiber, because fiber absorbs water and you need water along with fiber, otherwise you might get constipated. And then just remember that if you are cutting out major food groups or restricting yourself too much, you will probably experience cravings, or your current cravings will worsen. So something that we believe in is mindful eating. So that's listening to your body's cues of hunger and fullness. So eating until you are full, respecting your body and listening to your body if you're hungry, and nourishing it with something beneficial. Okay, eat your food slowly, don't rush. Remember, it takes 20 minutes for your brain to tell your stomach, or your stomach to tell your brain that it's full. Chew your meals, or chew your food thoroughly. Focus on your food when you're eating. So often if people eat in front of the TV, they're so engrossed in the TV that next thing you look down and you've finished your plate and you don't even remember eating. So try to not be on your phone or eat in front of the TV, really focus, enjoy your food, taste it, think about how it's making you feel. And then, like I said, eat only until you're full. When we were younger, a lot of our parents told us, you must finish what's on your plate. And I think that carries through to adulthood, and people think that they have to eat, especially at restaurants. You have to finish your plate, otherwise it's disrespectful. But that's not the right way to do it. We need to be eating until we feel we are full, and then telling ourselves it's okay to leave the rest. Okay, so a little bit of a touchy topic, emotional eating. Please bear in mind, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just going to be giving some tips from a dietary point of view. But if you do find that you are really suffering with emotional eating, it'll be a good idea to go and see someone like a psychologist. And there's nothing wrong with seeing a psychologist. I think there's a stigma attached with it, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting help and seeking therapy. So please just know that. Okay, so often stress is a big factor with emotional eating. Stress causes your body to release a hormone called cortisol, and cortisol increases appetite, especially with sweet and salty foods. You might get some cravings. So it's good to use some coping mechanisms that aren't related to food. So things like meditation, relaxation, reading, and exercise. Those can really help with stress management. And emotional eating isn't something that you can fix overnight. So it takes time. Start slowly, work on yourself until you feel that you're comfortably managing your stress and your eating. So some tips, we have 2 types of hunger, emotional hunger and physical hunger. Before you eat, think to yourself, how hungry am I actually? Rank your hunger in your mind from 1 to 10. Emotional hunger may feel like a sudden specific craving. You need to satisfy it instantly. You need to eat that food right now. Even though you feel full, you just keep eating, and usually you end up feeling guilty afterwards. Physical hunger is different. It's a slow hunger, a progressive hunger. You just want to eat. You don't really feel like something very specific. You can usually wait a little bit, stop when you're full, and you don't usually feel guilty after. And there are usually triggers for people that have emotional eating. Something maybe when you get sad, or when you have a stressful day at work. So just start to think about what makes me feel, what makes me crave foods, what makes me feel emotional. Okay, and in that moment, you can ask yourself 3 questions. When you get the trigger or urge to eat, when you're feeling emotional, is it physical hunger or is it emotional hunger? Second question, if I'm not experiencing physical hunger, is food going to help solve the problem and fix the situation? Third point, or third question to ask yourself, if food isn't going to help me solve the problem or fix the situation, what coping mechanism would help me best? So coping mechanisms can be exercise, getting outdoors, having a nap, reading, writing, maybe journaling, that's a good one, drawing, listening to music, or maybe contacting a friend or a family member, someone that is part of your support group. Okay. If after all of that you still want a comfort food, know that it is okay. You can just choose a smaller portion of that food to nibble on, guilt-free. Very important, guilt-free, and then you move on. And always be kind to yourself. Okay. My last slide, one of the questions was, how do you deal with, feeling guilty after eating? Just know that if healthy eating is a lifestyle, it's only realistic and long-term if you still allow yourself treats. So if you're craving something, rather than saying no and completely restricting yourself to a point where you end up binging on that food, rather have a small portion of the craving in that moment, work on not feeling guilty afterwards, enjoy it. You're craving chocolate, have 2 blocks, enjoy those 2 blocks, and move on afterwards. Don't feel guilty about the 2 blocks that you just ate. You don't need to restrict yourself after eating those 2 blocks of chocolate. You don't need to over-exercise to compensate for it. Remember that part of a balanced eating plan and a lifestyle includes those treats. Okay, there are my references, and just know that not all of the images used were my own. Thank you very much.